Hey guys, it's Valkrin with an update to patch 3.10a. Here's my tier list. I use this to determine how viable the champion is during the solo queue patch that they're changed in, and kind of a rubric to go by in terms of me evaluating champions. Now the LeBlanc changes were not very significant, but they're definitely a positive influence on LeBlanc. She needed these changes. She has trouble sustaining, so base health regen being increased is a huge deal. And attack damage per level being increased, it helps her last hit later in the game, which is also really good. So she was strong before, and I think she's still strong, but this is just pushing her in the right direction. I think she's a really good pick right now for solo queue. She's not god tier, she's not super strong, but she's just strong. She can win lane and she can snowball. There were a lot of Yi nerfs. Now these Yi nerfs were targeted towards nerfing Yi's mid to late game and his scaling. And I think it does a decent job at nerfing it, but Yi can still become that snowballing monster because his kit still works so well together. Yi was previously god tier, and now I think he's just very strong. The changes to Riven, all of these changes were just kind of like quality of life changes for Riven, and they're just going to benefit her in terms of making her playstyle more dynamic and less random in terms of wall jumps and landing your third Q on people. Now Zack's been nerfed in pretty much every patch he's been mentioned in for a long time, and this patch is one of the hardest nerfs he's gotten so far. They removed the tenacity on his ultimate. Now the tenacity on his ultimate was a big deal because you could jump into a team fight, pop your ultimate, and just, do a ton of damage. And if they use crowd control on you, then not only would it not last for very long at all, but it was pretty much going to be wasted because Zack's still going to be able to do all that damage. But now that he has zero tenacity through his ultimate, using crowd control effects on him and disengaging the team fight is now possible. And the nerf to his passive means you have to stand pretty much directly on top of the little squishies in order to get the blob absorption. So I think Zack is still strong, but he's steadily getting weaker and weaker and reaching more of a point of balance. But I still think he's a good pick for solo queue and in competitive play. These Twitch changes were just so minor. They barely affect his play. I mean, he's not going to be able to get those ridiculous first bloods at level 2 that he could before, and everything else about his kit wasn't even touched. So Twitch is still god tier. There are probably more nerfs coming, but so far these nerfs were just so small that it didn't change anything about Twitch. The Shin changes were pretty significant. You can now stop Shin from ulting away by just rooting him, and a nerf to his feint. This is, Shin's been nerfed quite a bit too, but he's still in a really good place. He still is a very strong champion if left unchecked. The nerf to Bilgewater and Blade of the Rune King were almost specifically caused by AD carries getting these items and dominating due to the kiting potential that these items offered. Both of them had an attack range nerf, which makes it so the AD carries have to get closer to their targets to activate it, and Blade of the Rune King has an activate cooldown increase. So overall, these items are still good, but now they're going to be different item paths you can go into. If you play Vayne, you can still go Blade of the Rune King and do well, but there are other options now. You can get other items instead of Blade of the Rune King, and that's what they're slowly moving towards. Spirit Visage. Now this item was incredibly cost effective before, and I think it's still a really good item. So this cost increase was necessary to help balance this item, but it's still a really good item. The new Phage is also a pretty cool item. This is one of the new cool things that Riot's starting to implement is more dynamic ways to play the game. And so they remade Phage so that you just get bonus movement speed on certain things being met. Like you kill a minion, you get 60 movement speed. That allows you to trade. The item's now cheaper and can be better in certain situations. The new Trinity Force is incredibly powerful. I think this might be one of the strongest items in the game right now. They buffed everything about it and they lowered the pricing on it. Of course, it doesn't have the slope thing on it, the icy effect, but the big thing on this item, the big thing that changes things is the 200% base damage increase up from 150%. Now that's a really big deal. So you're going to be hitting really hard with Trinity Force, doing tons of damage. The new Frozen Mallet, I don't like it because the build path is not as good as it used to be. Having Phage prior when going into Frozen Mount was really good because you could just sit on Phage for the mid game and have that slowing effect. It still secure kills. But now with the new Frozen Mallet, it's really expensive, and sitting on a Giant's Belt Pickaxe Ruby Crystal is not cost effective. Lucian. Now Lucian has a really cool kit. He's a cool champion. He's got really good wave clear, but the problem is his abilities are just too dang expensive. The mana costs are way too high for what they do. His ultimate's too easily interrupted and too easily avoided. So I think Lucian needs a few tweaks here and there, and he'll be a really good champion. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll be at PAX later this week competing in the PAX promotion under Cognitive Gaming. So if you're at PAX, just stop by and say hi. I'll try and meet with anyone that actually recognizes me and whatnot. But yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you guys.